everybody, welcome to Modern Shooter. It occurred to me recently that everybody shot a shotgun, whether it's grandpa's old 590, maybe dad has a CZ, he's got an 870. But it also occurred to me that there are some very small tricks to this trade that take the average shotgunner and bring them up here very, very quickly. I'm talking about shouldering the shotgun properly, learning to calculate lead. You master those and your game goes from right here to right here.
You are going into the unknown. What's on the other side may know you're coming.
Luke, are you ready for this?
Man, let me tell you a little bit about my wing shooting. Let's put it like this, if I had to rely on it, I certainly wouldn't starve to death, but I am also not gonna win any bets out of range either. That's exactly why I'm looking forward to today.
Awesome, let's do it.
If I'm gonna have to swallow my pride and learn from somebody, I want that somebody to be the very best. And let me tell you, Dave Miller, Dave's more than qualified to be considered the very best. Dave holds the Guinness World Record for most sporting clays busted within an hour. 3,653 clays broken within an hour. It's gonna take that caliber of shooter to help me.
So this record's a really nice calling card, but what I really like to do is teach people how to shoot.
Dave, I know this is really basic, but if we're gonna talk about how to hit moving targets with a shotgun, right? Seems to me that shotgun fit should become, you know, the first priority, right? In length of pull, for example, I've been shooting a shotgun for a long time. I know what length of pull is.
Sure.
I don't know what my length of pull is. So break that down for me. How do I know, A, what shotgun fits well for me, or if I'm helping my wife, helping my kids? How do I help them figure out what shotgun fit is?
Length of pull is very important, but more importantly in that, in my mind, is drop at the comb. We can have a gun that's too short or too long by a little bit and still be okay with it, as long as we can get our eye down parallel with the rib of that shotgun. That way the gun is pointing where we're looking. Now, I will tell you this, you probably have a whole safe full of guns and probably none of them are as long as this. What I mean by length is from where this trigger is to the center of the butt pad, that's length of pull. This gun is 15 1/4. See all the spacing I've added to it? The way I hunch into the gun, I need a long gun. I need a long length of pull. A lot of folks get hung up on trying to measure the buttstock to where their trigger finger is. You've seen that? That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So that gun there is, you could even use a little more length. Even yet, I bet it's longer than any gun that you have in your safe because gun fit is crucial.
Interesting you say that, Dave, because without knowing a lot of the numbers, I mean, I know this about myself. With rifles, with shotguns, I like to get very intimate when I shoulder the gun. I mean, I like to pull it in, hold her tight, and as a shooter, that's what I like. So that's a very interesting perspective. A shorter guy with shorter arms like myself still has a very long length of pull just because of how I shoot.
That's right. Everybody's different.
That's cool.
Being intimate with that stock is a great thing. Be in it to win it, man. Oh! People see different things, and what's most important is you find some characteristic about the target if you can.
One of the coolest lessons from Dave is learning how to see that target. I'm not talking about seeing the clay flying through the air. I'm talking about picking a spot on that clay. Definition lines. It's kind of like a hunter. You don't aim at the deer, you pick a hair on that deer. That's exactly what a good shotgunner does with that clay target. So see target, break target. If it were really that simple, that straightforward, I'd be a lot better at this by now.
Well, it's not that easy, okay? There's a few more things I'm gonna add to the equation. We already know where we're looking to break the target, okay? I'm gonna go through 5 little steps real quick. We see the target, we see characteristics about the target, we're gonna shoot the bird there. We know where we're seeing the target originate from, but there's one step I need to add. That was actually number 3. Number 2 is body position. If we're standing here like this, and I'm holding the weight of the gun, I'm literally pointing my gun this direction, okay? But if the target's over here, I have to make sure I get myself adjusted to where I'm standing in a neutral spot where I can still cover the field in that general vicinity where the bird's coming to, okay? Then I'm worried about focal point. So it's break area, body position, the focal point. The hardest part, number 4, is where do I put my gun barrel to start my gun between focal and break, okay? Then the last thing, we're actually ready now to call pull. Those are all mechanical steps that we go through Because when you say pull, Luke, you're not going to think about nothing but shooting a gun. You don't even know that you pull the trigger. You never tell yourself to pull the trigger. It just happens. So we got to build this framework up front to give our subconscious, when you're pulling the trigger, our subconscious the space, the framework to make a good shot on that target.
Up next.
And I figured out that if I hold this gun here solid, this hand never changes height, and I adjust my muzzle with my right hand. That's how I'm anchored here, and I adjust with my right. And it's just like swinging the gun on anything else.
You're watching Modern Shooter. Modern Shooter is brought to you by Aguila Ammunition. Feed your firearm. By H&H Precision Rifles. Engineering precision rifles and components for the world's most demanding shooters. 6 Hour Electro-Optics. See the difference. By Killer Innovations. Redefining the future of precision. By Securite. Intelligent firearm storage. And by Turnbull Restoration, specializing in the accurate restoration of historical metal finishes on period firearms. And by Benchmark Barrels, world-class accuracy made in the USA.
My name's Dave Miller, Guinness World Record holder.
Dave Miller has been perfecting his game for years. He is now one of the top shooters in the game.
Pull. And pull. I figured out that if I hold this gun here solid, this hand never changes height, and I adjust my muzzle with my right hand. That's how I'm anchored here, and I adjust with my right. And it's just like swinging the gun on anything else. You know, it's your eyes are the most important tool you bring to the field. Focus on the bird. Once you start hitting a few of them, it'll dial in. You can dial in and figure out where it's at.
So you just saw Dave bust some clays doing some pretty ridiculous trick shooting. I mean, he's got the world record, but he's well versed in shotguns. He really is one of the best shotgunners in the entire world. But what I love most about Dave is that he's as good teaching somebody else those skills as he is behind the trigger himself.
Go ahead and check your break point. Go ahead and mount your gun to your break point.
So for me, natural point of aim body posture would be about like this.
Right there.
I'd say about right there.
Everything feels good. No tension in your back.
Yeah, it
You're
feels
all
good.
Very good. Now, that's where you're going to kill the target.
Uh-huh.
Now, you're going to be looking down. Either you can look beside the gun, or you can bring the gun down just a little bit to where you're only doing just a little bit of the work, and the target's going to do 90% of it for you. You're going to do that last 10%.
So as a right-handed shooter, it would make sense for me to hold my gun, the point of aim off to the right of the point of aim. That way I can follow it all the way up on this side without having to lose it under the gun barrel. Is that correct?
You just made a great point. Let's see another target. Pull. Which way is that target going?
It's drifting off to my left.
Yes, it is. What side do you think you want to be on with the gun barrel?
If I go off to the right of it with the gun barrel, then I can see it the whole time.
You can, but then you're chasing the target. We always want to be on the lead side. We want to be there early.
That
Or let the
makes
target
sense.
come to our gun barrel. So let's mount over to the right. Look at that trap, the focal point, right across your hand with your right eye, and you can see that target coming to you. Let it just come right up, and you just naturally come to it. Look for those rings and ridges. Pull the trigger.
All right, you ready? Pull.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's do it again.
That was like the easiest clay I've ever busted because I've never thought about really anything but that. I've never thought about really what was happening here. I mean, I've always thought about shouldering the gun correctly, but I never thought about anything else, kind of the prep work that goes into breaking a target.
Sure.
I don't know how I'll say it. That was the easiest clay I've ever broken.
Well, that's correct. It all starts in the box. Before you say pull,
Yeah.
you have to be ready to shoot the target.
So you saw that over my shoulder, no edit. I mean, that literally was the easiest clay I've ever busted, right? I know what you're saying. It's probably a very, very simple target coming at, yes, absolutely. It's not a difficult clay to hit, but if I know Dave, it's gonna get progressively more difficult from here. But given the information I've already learned, my confidence is already going through the roof. Welcome back to Modern Shooter, and welcome back to my learning day behind the shotgun with Dave Miller. Now, he's taken this whole shotgunning thing and broken it down in very palatable pieces, but that first shot where the bird's coming in directly at me, I realized that's not the most challenging. But knowing Dave, he's got to up the ante, and that's exactly where we're headed.
So we've got more than one trap set up here, obviously.
We do.
We got lots of throwers. So I think the smartest thing to do is to take what I learned on that easy bird and apply it to a couple of different looks, right?
Yep.
Which ones we move to?
Sounds good. We're gonna shoot this target down to your left right here. It's kind of a nice gentle crossing target. It's kind of coming up into the wind. Have a look at it.
Pull.
All right.
So what I saw on that first one was a very defined edge where it was definitely brighter up top, dark shadow underneath, right? So that should be my focal point. And I think if I were to break it, there's definitely a spot up in here. I'd probably have to see it again. But right before it's slowing as the wind kind of holds it up, but right before it starts to drop. Because if I know myself, I'm going to shoot over the top of it if I pick a spot where the bird's already coming down.
Sure. And it's not a very fast target, so right up here in the blue sky is a nice place. It comes right up to you and just kill it right there. You can see it. You can see that nice shiny edge. That's what you want to shoot. Shoot that shiny edge. Okay, just about right over the top of that telephone tower or that highline wire tower.
Sure.
So that becomes our break point. Now our focal is the machine itself. So here's the hard part, Luke. Where do I put my gun, or where do you put your gun in relationship between where you're going to kill it and where you see it? So here's a good idea. If you're going to split the field in half, here's how you do it. If you're killing here, seeing here on crossers, you generally want to start your gun in the middle of the field. Okay? So here's a quick way of figuring that out. Break point, focal point. I just put my two hands together. I just split the field in half. That is now 50% of the field. 0 being focal, 100 being where I'm killing it. I'm starting my gun at 50% and going to 100. We are efficient, smart shotgun shooters. We're going to let the target do at least half the work for us every time.
Perfect. Now let me ask you a little bit more about sight picture, right? So I'm gun position is 50%. That makes sense to me. Halfway between where the bird starts, the target starts, and where I want to break it.
Yep.
When do I start moving my gun? Am I staying a little bit in front of it? And as the bird should catch up to my gun barrel at the break point, or what does that look like?
Remember we talked about our body position being on the break area?
Yes.
Which is also 100% of the target's flight path. That's
Yes.
the end of it.
Yes.
We're going to make sure we set our body up there, come back to 50%, leaving our body on the break area and twisting back in. So it's almost like we're preloading the spring. I'm going to be here, but I'm winding into this. And when the target comes, our body's going to naturally unfold on the shot, because here's neutral. This is relaxed state.
Yes.
Here's tension. Let your body carry you to that break area. I will never tell anybody how much lead to put on the target. We are all going to see things different. You will feel it. And if it doesn't work, I will tell you less or more, but that's about it. I will never say 2 more inches, 3 more inches, none of that stuff. I'm just going to ask you to give me more. Keep the barrel moving and you'll hit this target. And when you hit it, you're going to see this little gap between your gun and the target and that broken target, and you're going to see like a little snapshot, and you're going to keep that in your head. That will help you reproduce that hit over and over and over again. We are here to duplicate hits, not avoiding misses. It's the same thing. Your glass is half full or half empty. Which way do you look at it?
We're building up a profile of memories, right? To put in that toolbox so we can replicate.
Exactly right.
All right, let's see what we can do.
Okay.
Pull. Sorry. Break point there,
Yep.
right before it starts to drop down. That makes sense to me.
Yep.
I can see that definition line between light and dark very
Perfect.
good. The bird is still not dropping, so it's got a consistent flight path going upward. Natural point of aim, break point, back 50%, bending strictly at the waist, correct? The stance stays here.
You can use your knees too. Use everything you got to unfold on that target. It's
Stance,
okay.
so as it comes naturally, as you said, unfold, boom.
Yep. Looks good.
All right, I'm gonna work through this backward just because it makes sense to
Yes,
me.
that's how you would do it. That is forward, actually. Break point.
Forward,
Body position feels good.
Yep.
Go back 50%.
50%.
Look at the machine.
Pull.
Beautiful.
Oh, I hit it.
You did.
Any tips right out of the gate as you were watching? It certainly didn't feel overly smooth. I had a little bit of catching up to do.
Sure.
But other than that, I mean, it felt pretty good.
Yeah, felt good. You made an X on a score sheet. Let's shoot one more time. And remember, you're committed to firing the gun at and around that tower on the horizon.
And I was way after
You
that.
shot at the tree, okay? But it was a nice, smooth swing. However, you never know what's going to happen. This is why we set ourselves up for neutral on the break point, right? Our neutral is right here, is perfect, but you still had all this range of motion to carry yourself to the break point. If you'd been set up too far left, you're going to run out of swing, and it could have been a miss.
And
so you're always prepared for the worst.
So I just didn't get the gun barrel moving quick enough because, like I said, I felt like I fell a little bit behind. And by the time I got a sight picture back redeveloped, I was already way past.
Exactly. So now you know what the target feels like in front of the gun. Let's make it better.
All
right. Beautiful. Lovely.
That felt a lot better.
So much better.
It was even smoother, right? There was no, just.
Do one more. Make it better.
Pull.
Awesome. That was right over the tower, right over our landmark, right at 100%.
And it's funny because when it started going, I forgot exactly where I was supposed to break it. I cut it loose when it felt right.
Sure.
And it was right where we had set it up originally.
That's right.
That's cool. Man, that's good.
That was awesome, man. Good job.
That feels good. That feels really good.
Makes you want to do it again and again and again.
Yes, it does.
Hooked. Good shooting.
All right, what else do we have to look at?
Up next.
Well, I hit it, but I know exactly what I did wrong.
You're watching Modern Shooter.
Welcome back to Modern Shooter. If you're a wing shooter, you know how important those fundamentals are, because after all, it's the mastery of those tiny fundamentals that make you a top-end shotgunner, and that's exactly why working with a guy like Dave Miller is so important. Not only has Dave mastered those fundamentals to make him one of the best shotgunners in the world, but he's a phenomenal teacher. He is gifted at taking those fundamentals and being able to pass those on to the next shotgunner.
I fully realize I'm learning from the best here, but you've almost made it too easy. And again, knowing you, Dave, you are going to put my ego back in check with the next exercise, aren't you?
Now we're going to shoot a report pair. So you've done singles.
Yep.
Now report. Report is when you fire at the first one, the second target is then released. So now you have a transition to make from break point 1 now to break point 2.
You're saying I have to multitask.
You're going to have to pump that gun.
All right, well, you going to get out there and show me how first?
I'm going to shoot with you this time.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay, now let's talk report pair. We have the crosser down below coming out. We know where we're going to kill that one. We're going to shoot that target and then transition over to the next break point on the second target, on the report target. That move is called a cutoff. We are cutting off this next shot. All right, so made my first shot, knowing that I wouldn't have the range of motion to kill the second one without moving my feet. I just gently swung my right foot around and remounted the gun on the second target. So I made 2 individual shots on that report pair.
When you work with someone like Dave, it's very easy to get what I'm pretty sure is a false sense of confidence because those singles came almost too easily. But now we're onto the report pair, and I got a feeling it's probably going to be a pretty good kick in the shin. But speaking of shins, I did notice that it's the footwork on a situation like this that makes all the difference. Let's see if I can take what he taught me and equal hits. Pull. Well, I hit it, but I know exactly what I did wrong.
Didn't move your feet, did you?
I got real heavy feet there at the end.
You're not in concrete. It's okay to move a little bit. Here's why that's hard. Because when we say pull, we're going through all these mechanical steps, all these things that we're figuring out, break point, hold point, all these things we're figuring out, all 5 steps. And then we say pull, which is the 5th one. Then we're operating now in our subconscious mind. That's what's driving the gun, because you certainly don't remember pulling the trigger, do you?
Not at all.
No, not at all. You just did it.
Yep.
And you made that one look great. You made them both look great. It could be better if you moved a little bit.
Yep.
It's because we're in subconscious, and it's not like you to move between shots. You didn't do it. You just were like, I got to get over and shoot that bird.
I didn't do it.
You forgot a step. It's not in the norm. It's not your normal procedure. So that's why.
It's a great reminder of what exactly why we all say, right? Practice makes perfect.
Right. You got to train for it.
I got to get that into the routine.
Yeah.
I mean,
do it again.
All right.
You got
But
this.
the right way this time.
The right way.
Got it. Pull. Better late than never.
That's right. Good shot.
Better late than never. It occurred, but that's right. I mean, it occurred to me after I pumped and as I was resettling in, it didn't feel good.
Sure.
I mean, that natural point of aim did not feel natural at all. And therefore, it ended up still being a little twisted up because I was forcing myself to do it rather than allowing it to happen and flow kind of with the scene, right?
Right.
But it happened.
But it happened, and you realized it a little late, but you fixed it. Remember, you got to pump the gun. I'm shooting a semi-auto, so you got one more step in there that I didn't have. Yeah. So there's your excuse.
Yeah. I'm one big excuse, but I hit them both, right?
You hit them
that's
both.
what matters.
You hit them
awesome.
both.
Thank you.
Good job.
That's cool stuff. Under Dave's instruction, it didn't take me long at all to start breaking clays very, very consistently. And of course, all that stems from what he taught me to do right here with my body and with the gun. But I also realize a very enormous part of the equation is the ammo that we're shooting, Dave. I mean, tell me why you're picking this. Tell me what matters in a good shotgun shell for you.
Okay. I have been shooting Aguila ammunition for 2 years now. This is the best. This is the load I prefer. The 1 ounce 1275. It's a good quick shell, very little recoil, gets the job done. And the best of them all, when I do my trick shooting shows, my semi-automatics, which take a tremendous amount of abuse. I mean, I'm not nice to them. They eject these shells so far, so consistent. I never have to worry about a misfeed, nothing. They break targets hard. I've crushed targets as far as 70 yards with these 1 ounce 7.5s, and just love them. I get the same feel, the same results. I'm looking for hits a certain way. I'm not just satisfied if the target breaks. I want to see the target break a certain way over my gun, around my gun, and these give me that. These give me that.
So you're talking about a shotgun shell that gives you the utmost inconsistency.
Yeah, I'm so confident with these shells in my gun, I don't want to shoot anything else.
That's all I needed to know.
That's what you need right here.